and Clemson. We are ready to play in front of another loud, big crowd at Colonial Life Arena. Opening tip controlled by South Carolina. Tina Pow, now into the hands of Bree Hall. Back to Pow. Clemson comes out in zone. Pow for three. You were saying about the three-point shooting a moment ago?
Well, that's the leading three-point shooter for the Gamecocks, shooting 50% on this season, and she picks up right where she left off.
Now 7 of 13 for Pow from outside the three-point line. On the drive, good strong take. Off the mark by Ruby Whitehorn, sticks with it, no, and Cardoso has her first rebound.
And this is the important area for Clemson here this evening, the transition defense, because we know the Gamecocks want to get out and run.
Chloe Kitts gets a hand in there. Last touch by Clemson. As you take a look at the starting five for South Carolina, Cardoso, the leading scorer and rebounder. Kitts had a double-double in the win against Maryland. Bree Hall making her third career start, and of course Raven Johnson at the point. Cardoso is fouled, and she'll step to the free throw line as Robinson gets called for the contact.
Well, Eric, you mentioned Clemson in that 2-3 matchup zone. They run it on out-of-bounds plays as well. That's a double stack by South Carolina. Easy lob there in for Cardoso, and she draws the foul.
So Cardoso making her third start for South Carolina after coming off the bench in her first 68 games. And she's got her first point. 16 points a game, 11 rebounds a game through the first 2 games of the season. One of 2, the rebound for Michaela Elmore, but now Johnson almost with a hand on it. It will be Clemson basketball. They'll reset the shot clock. Roy Gilbey and Denise Brooks, Tony Patillo are officiating crew. Just take a look at the Clemson starting five. Pitt transfer Daishanette Harris. Michaela Elmore, starter this season. Robinson, the leading scorer and rebounder. Whitehorn, the number 2 scorer. Maddie Cluse, excellent defender for this Clemson team.
And Eric, you see Clemson spreading the floor, going 5 out at times. And
last touch by Robinson on a turnover.
Yeah, and that's what Robinson's got to be able to do. She's got to be able to tack off the bounce or knock it down from deep to make the bigs of South Carolina play her honestly.
How aggressive is Clemson going to need to be in this zone here, Christy, against this sharp-shooting South Carolina team?
Well, because of how well South Carolina is shooting it from deep, they're going to have to be quick on their bumps, meaning when one player rotates off of a player, and they've got to get out to contest the shooters.
And they have to sprint back in transition defense with the speedy Raven Johnson on the floor. Pow forced it in, turnover, and here comes Cluse the other way.
And Amanda Butler told us, we want to run. That's our game.
The way she put it was, run on our terms tonight. Chloe Kitts showing some of that strength, putting it in for 2.
Well, we know South Carolina's going to run on their terms, and the key is to get back and get solid in transition defense, not just match up.
Cluse defended by Pow. Kitts there on defense. Ooh, nice job by Cluse to get to the basket for 2. Averaging just under 10 points a game through the first 3 games of the season. Miami of Ohio transfer, spent the last 2 seasons with the Red Hawks. Hall. Open look for 3. Pow knocks down her second 3.
What'd you say, sorry?
And on the reach in, well, they'll get Johnson actually on the contact, so Raven Johnson picks up the personal foul. First substitution for Clemson is Monty Freeman into the game.
Well, we said South Carolina wants to get out and run. Great pass by Raven Johnson into Chloe Kitts, and then Maddie Cluse responds on the other end. This young lady is so good off the bounce. I'm eager to see how South Carolina tries to slow her down here this evening.
Freeman in for Elmore for the Tigers. Whitehorn, good athletic guard, defended by a good defender at Hall, who's all over her right now. And that's going to be thrown away, and it'll be South Carolina basketball. The concern for Dawn Staley so far, and I use that word with reservation, because when you've gone for 100 or more against 2 top 15 teams, you don't have a lot of cause for concern now in her 16th season as head coach. But she would love the defense to improve, but she knows that when they're getting so many possessions and scoring so many points, you're going to give up a bunch of points.
Absolutely. I mean, they're still defending. It's just the opponents are getting more possessions. And when you're shooting like pow-pow, it takes a lot of pressure off your defense.
Danielle Roush into the game for Clemson. Brings it across half court for the Tigers, now down by 10 in the opening minutes. Johnson picks the pocket of Kluse. 2-on-1 the other way with Kitts and Hall on the trail. Timeout, Clemson. Great start for the #1 team in the country, and the crowd loves it. And Dawn's had to let a couple things go when it comes to the defensive end and just swallowing deep. And as a matter of fact, she almost sounded surprised when we talked to her today that her team has played this well, because they have not practiced great, but they have been gamers so far in their first 2 games. Out of the timeout, much needed basket. Robinson provides it. Fulwiley into the game. Outstanding freshman checks in, Mylasia Fulwiley from here in Columbia.
And Eric, some people at home might be like, why is Clemson running a 2-3 matchup if we're talking about South Carolina shooting so well? Well, it's a matchup issue. They don't have the bigs to go 1-for-1 with the bigs of South Carolina, so you pick your poison. And if you're a Tiger fan, you're just hoping that South Carolina cools down from deep.
3-pointer on the way from Mackenzie Kramer, and that's going to be over the top. Also into the game for South Carolina, Ashlyn Watkins has checked in, but South Carolina only dressing 10 here today. They are down a player. Tessa Johnson, freshman from Minnesota, really good shooter. You talk about how good they've shot this year. Well, she's one of those good shooters for this team. She suffered a lower leg injury in shoot-around this afternoon, so she's unable to go here today. Here's Hall, open look for 3. Another 3 for South Carolina, red hot from outside the arc. 4 for 6 to get things going here in the first.
And Eric, I was at practice yesterday for South Carolina. They worked exclusively against the 2-3 matchup. They knew how to move the ball. Dawn Staley doesn't want the ball sticking. And mind you, it's not that she just wants to settle for the 3-point ball. She wants the ball to go inside, but I got to tell you, if I'm a player and I'm as hot as South Carolina is right now, I'm going to keep shooting.
Amanda Butler channeling her perhaps hockey coaching background, bringing in 5 right now, and 5 head off the floor. So a fresh 5 on as Pow Pow heads off for South Carolina. Raven Johnson back in. Maddie Ott on the floor right now. Michaela Elmore back in. Here's Kluse. Eno Inyang making her first appearance of the season, coming off an injury, and that's cut to the basket for 2 for Kluse.
And Eric, that was Will Cardozo rotating to her. Talk about relentlessly getting to the rim. That's what I'm saying. Maddie Kluse has a gear to her in terms of scoring off the bounce.
Well, Wiley gets a little space with the dribble, can't get it, and then she gets called for the foul.
That's one of those youthful mistakes.
I was going to say, the freshman mistakes that probably get highlighted by Dawn Staley once or twice or a dozen times through the course of a film session.
Well, she knew as soon as she released the ball, did Fulwiley, that it wasn't going in, so she tried to get the offensive rebound, but just, you don't want to compound a mistake or a missed shot with a foul.
Harris back out for Kluse. Coming to it is Elmore, rejected. South Carolina had 22 blocks in the first 2 games. Good ball movement. Hall's open. That 3 won't drop, but Fulwiley's got a second chance here for Carolina. That won't drop. Battle for the rebound continues, and Cardoso gets there. Good hustle on the boards. Applauded by the home crowd here in Columbia. Cardoso, count it, and the foul.
Well, this is why Clemson doesn't want to go one-on-one with Cardoso down low. You're seeing Eno Inyang trying to body her up, but she gives up 3 inches to Cardoso, and that's the improvement in Cardoso. The upper body strength, finishing through contact that we're seeing here early part of this season.
Ooh, Watkins flies through to get the putback. Another chance for Cardoso. Cardoso, good hustle play to keep it alive. Another second chance opportunity here for Carolina. Cardoso's the only one who could catch that one with that long reach. When you're 6'7", you can get to some passes that may not normally get there. Kick to the corner, that's Ott. Three-pointer won't go. Full Wiley. Full Wiley. Full Wiley.
Eric, Clemson wants to shoot the through. Amanda Butler told me we probably need to make 10 of those tonight to win this game. The downside of missed threes, it allows your opponent to get out and run, as we're seeing South Carolina do.
Kluse, tough one. Cardoso the rebound, and here comes Carolina in transition again. Hall will settle things down. Finds an open shooter, that's Johnson. Another offensive rebound, and they say last touch by Cardoso. She says it was knocked out of her hands by Elmore. But it'll be Clemson ball.
Full Wally's like, I got this. I'm going to make it up for it. And if you haven't paid attention, Malaysia Full Wally, one of the most exciting freshmen in the country there, coast to coast. A little disappointing that it wasn't more than just a regular layup based on the early parts of this season.
I was on the edge of my seat, I got to admit, but that's the kind of player she is. When Dawn Staley throws out a term like generational player, you take notice, and that's what she's said about Full Wiley. Another one thrown up top to Cardoso, who just got caught up on the baseline and threw it off the backboard, so a turnover. 7-0 run right now for South Carolina. Robinson, not timid. Watkins comes away. Here's Full Wiley. Fakes the pass, gets the finish. That's why you sit on the edge of your seat when she's on the floor. Rush shot by Clemson, well off the mark. And Clemson's out of sync right now. But South Carolina has that effect on teams.
Well, we said we were waiting for more from Full Wiley, and we had the little half this time, fake from behind the back and taking it up to score. Eric, one thing that I am liking by Clemson, they're not worried when South Carolina scores. They know they are. They're getting it out quick. The problem is the shot selection that they've been settling for in the half court.
Kluse rejected by Watkins. South Carolina ball.
Where South Carolina came in first in the country in blocks per game. Ashlyn Watkins leading the country in blocks per game. Her second already here in the first quarter.
Johnson skips it over the corner three for Full Wiley. No. So now Fagan into the game and tips it to Watkins for two. 10 straight points for Carolina.
If you're Clemson, you got to have a little bit more pace to your half-court offense and force the young players of South Carolina to have to make some decisions.
Deflected again, another turnover. Here's Johnson with the lob to Full Wiley. No, the follow, no. South Carolina hasn't given up on the glass. Oh, look at the handle by Full Wiley. Oh, look at the pass. Oh, look at that play.
Eric, even Dawn Staley had a smile on her face as her team ran back down the floor on that last possession.
The arena is still buzzing. You can hear it.
Can you put all those Full Wiley clips together? Perfect.
Now Johnson will go to work. She shows the handle. Can't get it. And the rebound for Robinson. Shot clock and game clock just about synced up, so no rush here for Clemson.
South Carolina switching on those screens. That's the athleticism that they have around the perimeter.
Full Wiley kicks it back to Pow Pow. 10 on the game clock. Pow with the floater. 11 points for Pow. 2 seconds. Roush. Watkins with another block. And what a spectacular quarter for South Carolina. A little different energy.
I was joking yesterday at practice because I'm like, it's like people didn't pay attention to the recruiting that Dawn Staley and her staff had done the last 3 years. We know what they lost. The 5 just truly remarkable players that Dawn Staley lost, and they haven't missed a beat. Now, Dawn told us today it's a fresh slate for everybody, and I looked at you and I said, well, she's painting a Picasso right now.
Second quarter's underway. Here's Whitehorn, defended by Hall. Off balance, won't go. Clemson now 3 of 18 from the field. 0 for 7, by the way, from outside the three-point line against a South Carolina team that made 4 threes in 10 attempts in the first quarter. Hall attacks the defense, and that's an offensive foul called on Bree Hall. Turnover number 5 for South Carolina here in the first half.
Well, Eric, as someone who has followed Clemson over the years, I think this is one of Amanda Butler's best teams that I've seen her have. Player for player, they look improved. Her guard play is improved. And I say all that to this point. That's how dominant South Carolina has been in this game. But Amanda Butler was excited about this opportunity. She goes, we're going to see where we're at, and we know we're going to learn a lot here this evening.
Chloe Kitts back into the game, and Fulwiley finds her another assist for the freshman as Kitts now has 6. And a turnover for Clemson. That's their 6th.
The only thing good about that turnover is it went out of bounds, so it allows Clemson to get set up in the half court in this 2-3 matchup versus trying to play transition defense.
South Carolina closed the quarter on a 14-0 run to go up by 25. Fulwiley, heat check, still hot. 7 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. And now Bree Hall with the steal, and Hall all alone for 2 more.
And that's where Freeman has to see the defense before making that pass. She was just looking at her teammate only. Great job by Bree Hall to shoot the gap.
Fagan gets called for kicking it. Give Clemson a chance to get a couple of subs in the match.
You see Freeman just catch the ball and almost telegraph the pass. This is Bree Hall. This is her improvement. This is her leadership. She's picking it up on the defensive end here this season. That time is rewarded with the easy 2.
Fulwiley gets a rest. I think she earned it.
I'm pretty sure I heard the crowd go, oh, when she subbed out.
7 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists so far for the freshman. Harrison Elmore back into the game for Clemson. Good drive by Whitehorn. That just won't drop. And another rebound for Carolina. Dominating on the board so far. A plus 18 in rebounding margin. 24-6. Pow. That won't drop. Here's another rebound. And another? No. This one controlled by Amari Robinson.
Harris is calling for it on the wing.
Harris on the kick. Open 3 on the way. Rebound for Bree Hall. Sanaya Ja, another freshman, into the game for South Carolina. Wears number 24. Fagan, yes. 7th different score for South Carolina. Fagan at 8 points, 6 boards in 13 minutes against Maryland. Kramer. And that one is kicked up into the 7th row. Sanaya Fagan showing the skills. Now reversing the ball back to the baseline. Good job. Everybody here plays it the right way.
Clemson just stagnant on the offensive end. I say this again, whether it's the on-ball screen offense or just ball movement, the ball can't stick right now because of the length of South Carolina and how disruptive they've been.
Shot clock at 9. Harris contested shot. That won't drop. Robinson fights inside. Kick out for 3. Elmore. Player down is Robinson. Back behind the play. Hall's pull up. No good. Ja rips down the rebound. She has her first points. Robinson's up and okay by the looks of it. Whitehorn, 3. No, another quick shot for Clemson. Another rebound for South Carolina. Cardoso on the turnaround will head to the free throw line. Christie, was a 14-0 run to close the first quarter. It's an 11-0 run to start the second quarter for South Carolina.
It's what we're used to from the Gamecocks. They do it with their defense. They do it with the rebounds. Already 11 offensive rebounds for South Carolina, 11 second chance points. They're just unforgiving. Right now what we're seeing, any mistake Clemson makes, they're pouncing on, and they are being able to take advantage of every miscue by Clemson so far.
Cardoso off the mark. Tomorrow night, 7 Eastern Time, men's hoop on the SEC Network. Florida State, Florida, rivalry game, 75th meeting all time. You can see it right here on the SEC Network and also on the ESPN app. Raven Johnson back in. Bree Hall will check out. 6 points, 5 rebounds for Cardoso. Pow. Fagan. Cardoso on the spin. Can't get it to drop, and she's going to get called for the reach. That'll be her first personal foul.
It's a really tough matchup. Whoever's the middle of this 2-3 matchup. Already I've seen 5 different white uniforms go in and try to seal the middle of that 2-3 matchup to go one-on-one. And every one of them have been taller than the middle of Clemson so far.
Clemson's last points came with 5:15 to go in the first quarter on a Cluse basket. 26-0 run right now for South Carolina. Johnson all over Harris.
And Eric, Deja Harris is a great point guard. That tells you about Raven Johnson's on-ball defense.
Good rebound for Josh. She'll put it on the deck, and here she comes the other way for South Carolina. And maybe she carried it a little bit too much. Jump ball, possession arrow will keep it with South Carolina. Another substitution for South Carolina. Kemah Walker comes on for the first time, so that means all 10 available players have gotten on the floor for Dawn Staley so far.
I think we're about to see that 6th white uniform go to seal the middle of the 2-3 matchup.
Cardoso feeds it to Walker. Nine out of the 10 have scored so far for South Carolina. Raven Johnson, the only one who hasn't scored yet, but she does have 6 assists. 28 unanswered points. And the run ends. It was more than 10 minutes between hoops for South Carolina. And then it's answered right back.
Miscommunication.
10 minutes between hoops for Clemson, I should say, and then South Carolina answers right back. I said South Carolina a lot today.
Well, just a miscommunication. You didn't have anyone going to defend that left side of the wing and left her wide open.
Ja knocks down the 3. She's got 5. Here's Maddie Ott. On the drive, Cardoso there defensively. Harris was looking for the call, didn't get it. Ja will get it pinned up on the rim. That will be a jump ball. Possession arrow. They didn't change the arrow originally, but it will be Clemson ball. And that will get us to a timeout. South Carolina doing it up the same. What jumps out about that statement from Staley?
Because I think she has, right now, at times, 3 point guards on the floor. Fulwali's on with Pow and with Raven Johnson. But she just was giddy today talking about the play of Raven Johnson and Tahina Paopao and how they complement one another so well. But Eric, this is a team averaging 30 assists a game. This is a selfless team. This is a team that's making the extra pass, and I can't get over it. Just how do you game plan against this team when you got the bigs, and we know they can score inside, but you've got the great three-point shooting that they've showed here in their first 3 games of the season.
14 assists on 20 field goals so far for South Carolina. And in the Staley era, this is her 16th season at South Carolina, the 2 highest assist and field goal made games have been the last 2 games, Notre Dame and Maryland. They'll give you an idea of what they're doing offensively.
I mean, when I prepare for a game, I'm like, all right, if I was still coaching, how would I defend this? And I got to tell you,
well,
let me finish this.
Hang on, wait. First of all, I tell you not to think that before trying to go to sleep, because you would not go to sleep that night. That's step 1. Now take it from there, please.
But I was going to say, my first thought was, thank goodness I don't have to try. Because you're not going to stop anyone. Doesn't matter who you're playing. You're trying to limit them. You're trying to take away or limit their strengths. Well, everybody came into the season. Oh, thank goodness. The freshies are gone. Their top 5 players are gone. This is our chance. And Dawn Staley just has a team now that as individuals they've improved. And as a system, they've improved. Players are quicker off the floor. Hence, the offensive rebounds are where they were a year ago, if not better. And we've seen the great outside shooting as well.
It was a roster reset really for this team. They lost all 5 starters. Raven Johnson started 3 games last year. You've got these newcomers, the transfers, and the freshmen. But you had a lot of players who are waiting in the wings, the ones who are practicing with this team last year, waiting for their chance to get more minutes. Those who are recruited saying, well, I want to be a part of that. I want to be the next Zaya Cook or Bree Beal, or just name your player that we watched start these last 4 years. Good offense there by Clemson on the cut. Best for the Tigers so far as they get the basket, they get to double figures. It's 48-11. First points for Freeman, who scored 13 the last time out for Clemson. That was against Mercer. Another one that Cardoso hauls in and puts down. Inside of 3 minutes to play, second quarter. Freeman looks for something from outside. Nope. Full Wiley back into the game with the rebound. Full Wiley, left unguarded, takes the open 3, knocks down another one. She's into double figures with 10. That's her second 3. 53-11. Now Full Wiley trying to hang defensively, does a good job over the head of Johnson, but there's Full Wiley with it. Full Wiley takes it herself, offensive foul. Did a little bit too much herself that time. And Clemson will take over.
Great job of Nia Valentine there, getting back to get that charge of possession before Full Wiley. You got to give her some space because she's beating you off the bounce, but the young lady can obviously shoot it from 3. And Eric, she knew that was in. She just held the follow through.
Well, the crowd would love to see the freshmen stay on the floor, but if you get 2 fouls in the first half, you're guaranteed to go to the bench. Kramer. Paopao hangs with her. That shot no good. Rebound batted around and controlled by Robinson. Valentine on the run. Nope. And here's Raven Johnson. Johnson has 8 assists. That's 9. That's a new career high for Raven Johnson. And she did it in 1 half against Clemson here tonight.
She's special. I mean, Raven Johnson's elevated her game. She's so much quick. She was quick on quick a year ago. She is just hiccup quick now. I don't know how you keep her in front of you because it's her east-west speed that I think's gotten even better here in the since last season.
Well, that'll go into the books as a different assist for Raven. She was on her keister, tipped it over to Paopao, who knocked down the outside shot. That's answered by Kramer for Clemson. Johnson just piling up the assists right now. 11 assists for Raven.
And 30 paint points for South Carolina.
Now Johnson gets the steal. And you know, as Christy just mentioned, she only knows one speed, although that one was tapped away, and it'll be South Carolina basketball. All right, Laisha Full-Wiley has bypassed some South Carolina legends when it comes to points scored in their first 3 games playing for South Carolina. And again, the first 3 games, Notre Dame, Maryland, and Clemson. ACC, Big Ten, ACC.
I mean, Eric, it's not like those other 3 people didn't accomplish so many great things.
I've heard good things.
We've got one in the rafters. I'm expecting the other 2 will join her in the rafters.
And one's got a statue out front.
Exactly.
That's going to be a foul called on Raven Johnson. That's her second personal foul.
And in true Raven Johnson fashion, smiles as soon as she does it. But now she's talking to the official. Now she's being the point guard. All right, what can I do differently?
Well, you think about it, it was 2 years ago this week that she suffered her ACL injury against South Dakota, November 12th, 2 seasons ago. And you think about the timeline to come back from an ACL injury. It takes a year plus. So last year she was on the all-freshman team in the SEC, but to your point from a moment ago, I think she looks like the player that we expect to see throughout her South Carolina career now. That one, good if it goes, but it's off the mark. Game 1 in the uniform, we're calling it khaki yellow until we find the actual official name of the color. But cool new look for South Carolina. It's been a blur here tonight with how they've been running up and down the floor. Pow perfect from outside the 3-point line in the first half. Shot clock down to 7. Johnson can't score, and a rebound pulled down by Maddie Otts. Gets the second half start here for Clemson.
Where that position defensively for Clemson, you heard 5 players connected, talking, the energy already so good coming out of the half for the Tigers.
Whitehorn on the drive gets her first points. It was a 28-0 run from the first quarter to the second quarter. Chloe Kitts gets the scoring started in the third quarter for South Carolina, and the foul.
Ball movement's been so good for South Carolina. Here you see the forward comes out, and then Cardoza gets it. That leaves the middle of that matchup wide open. Great job by Chloe Kitts to slide down low, present herself, and get to the free throw line.
20th assist for South Carolina. A reminder, they had 30 and 29 in their first 2 games. Whitehorn, yes, a little more aggressive perhaps for Clemson coming out of the locker room. And I was going to ask you, what's Amanda Butler's message to her team in the locker room at halftime, in your opinion?
I got to believe it's what she talked to us about, improvement. She said she wanted to see improvement game to game. Well, we saw improvement in the second quarter from the first quarter, and now we've seen a little bit more improvement starting this half. But the issue right now is the easy post-to-post passing that South Carolina's getting against the matchup.
Kitts has 10 on a perfect 5 for 5 shooting from the field. Pow tries to find her again. Has to come down, resets with the dribble, and has it knocked out of play. No foul. It will be Carolina basketball as Michaela Elmore comes into the game for Amani Freeman.
Well, Eric, I've talked a lot about the improvement of individual players. Chloe Kitts being one of those has put on so much muscle from a year ago. Mid-year transfer for South Carolina, and you're seeing just a year under Dawn Staley's tutelage and what this young lady's starting to do.
Cardoso gets the putback and the foul. Yeah, just to be clear on Kitts, she graduated high school early, so her timeline was accelerated. She joined this team, and when you think about what she did last year in 18 games, 29 points, in this season she's already surpassed her point total from last year in that internship semester that she had with South Carolina. Into the hands of Hall, swarmed by Clemson players. Tie up, jump ball. We'll keep it with Clemson.
where a lot of the players have told me that they attribute their success and how well they're playing to Molly, the head of sports performance here for South Carolina. Kit's put on 15 pounds of muscle since the end of last season. Raven Johnson has dropped 30 pounds since that freshman year. You're seeing the benefits of just specific training for these athletes and how it's transformed their bodies, but more importantly, how it's made them better basketball players on the floor.
Just love how they're sharing the basketball right now. Assist won't go in the books there, but a chance to add to the lead at the free throw line coming from Cardoso. Just love how sharing the basketball can be contagious. It's not just up to Pow or Johnson for who are on the floor right now. We've seen good passes from Cardoso. We saw Kitts there a moment ago. Hall getting involved. It is just part of the DNA for this team. You talked about it before. This is a very good passing team that's getting better.
Passing's contagious. Shooting the ball is contagious. Shooting the three is contagious. And I think they all know that they each have varying strengths. And as long as they're bringing that to the floor, it opens things up for this entire team.
Here's Ott, transition three on the way is too strong. Raven Johnson back the other way with her head up. Finds Hall cutting to the basket. Kitts continues to fight on the glass. Jump ball. Possession arrow will give it to South Carolina. They're still fighting for the tie-up even after the whistle.
And Eric, I love the fans here. Every missed shot, there's an awe. This expectation right now is that every shot goes.
Well, they've cooled off here. 43% in this quarter has brought them down to 55% for the game. Cardoso tries to find Kitts, tiptoeing on the baseline, controlled by Clemson.
Well, credit Clemson's defense. They're getting deflection, which is disrupting clean passes into the bigs or to one another, so that's affected the offense for South Carolina somewhat.
Harris gets her first field goal. She's got 3. Hall on the pull-up. That won't go. And it's a rebound for Elmore. Back out to Harris, who could score as well. She's a 1,000-point scorer at Pitt, and she shows that scoring ability by knocking down the jumper.
And that's one thing about Clemson. They have 4 players on this team that are 1,000-point scorers. So this is a team that can put it in the hole. Just haven't had that touch here this evening consistently.
Mackenzie Kramer, Harris, Nia Valentine, and Amari Robinson, the 4 1,000-point scorers for Amanda Butler. Only Robinson scoring all her points at Clemson as the transfers have come in to help this Clemson team that won 19 games a season ago, 7 in the ACC, reached the 3rd round of the WNIT. 9-win improvement from the year before, and you think after watching film that this Clemson team by the end of this season should be better than last year's team.
Absolutely. I think she's got shooters around the perimeter between Kramer and Ott and even Kluse, and some of the bigs we know Robinson can step out and hit it. She's got quality point guard play in Harris. I think Valentine needs some more transition time to get used to this level, but I think she's going to be fine. And I've said it a couple of times, I love Kluse's game. I love her ability to get downhill and finish at the rim. I think right now it's also a matter of Ruby Whitehorn's growth now in this sophomore year because she can fill it up as well for Amanda Butler.
Kitts heads to the bench with 12. Watkins into the game. Good defense by Watkins, made it tough. Cardoso with the rebound. Of course, with Watkins on the floor and taking on Clemson, it takes you back to last year when she dunked in the game at Clemson. But Fulwiley's back into the game, and she wastes no time knocking down another 3. "13 points, 3 for 5 from outside the three-point line." Kramer to Harris. Shot clock down to 4. Harris with the kick, the open look. Kluse. For Wiley to Johnson. Over the top, Cardoso, the kick to Hall.
Harris is down.
And they do stop play here as Harris laying there on the baseline. Candace Wright is the athletic trainer for this Clemson team. Craig Oates, the South Carolina athletic trainer, came out since it happened in front of the South Carolina bench to be the first one there. Daishanette Harris from Youngstown, Ohio. Played at Pitt the last 4 seasons. Started 16 games a season ago. Starter for Clemson, and she's up and running off the court. Great to see. Amanda Butler's team knocked off Mercer and Winthrop and Charleston Southern before coming here to Columbia to take on the new #1 team in the country. South Carolina Hall, no. Tapped away by Robinson, and Clemson controls the rebound. Danielle Roush back into the game for Clemson.
Danielle Roush, basically the coach on the floor for Clemson here this season.
You know what? That reminds me, I want to talk to you about that when we come back. But right now, she's back as a player for Clemson for one final year.
Well, I asked her, I said, what's made you better this year because of that experience? She said, well, I tracked our offensive possessions last year, so I know exactly what Coach Butler wants on the floor this year.
Ducking inside is Elmore off the mark, and here's Johnson. Johnson to Full Wiley. Full Wiley again, no! The one thing, I'm just scanning the fans here, being here courtside. The smiles you see, the thrill you see when Full Wiley does something, or even if it doesn't work out, is just evident in this building. She is a crowd pleaser.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more because that's just you that's doing all those things.
Well, good job. That's a save. Johnson with the kick to Full Wiley. Raven Johnson puts it in. Everyone is now scored for South Carolina. Kluse. Hall gambled. And that's going to be a backcourt violation. Hall did not make any contact, so it's a turnover. Just to finish the thought, we talked to Amanda Butler about it as well, and we said, well, what kind of NIL money are we talking here? And Amanda wasn't going for the bait. Danielle laughed about it a little bit, and then we said, well, was it in Starbucks gift cards? Yeah, I mean, you are a coach, or we're a coach. Isn't that what coaches live on these days? And she said, no, but if there's any of that money floating around, send it my way. Cardoso again finding a teammate inside. That's Fagan for 2.
But Eric, we asked what that recruiting process was like for Danielle to decide to do it, and Amanda Butler said she saw us every day and what we stand for, the family values, and that's what she wanted to be a part of. So hats off to Danielle Roush for living the dream yet another year.
3.5 to go here in the third quarter. South Carolina closed the first quarter on a 14-0 run to go up by 25. They started the second quarter with a 14-0 run, led by 48 in the first half. Full Wiley deep 3.
Can you click that from when the ball came to the top there? Watch her coming off the screens.
16 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists for the freshman from Columbia. And by the way, another assist for Raven Johnson. That's 14 assists. 3 minutes to go in the quarter. Cardoso with the block. 7 to shoot for Clemson.
Well, Eric, you're talking about the selflessness of South Carolina. You see the 2 bigs come out and screen this side of the zone, and that allowed Full Wiley to get through there and get that open look.
Shot clock down to 3. Robinson has to launch. No good. Somebody lost track of Kluse, and she makes them pay. And 1.
Kluse now with 6 points. That's a huge offensive rebound there against the bigs of South Carolina.
Ja will come into the game, and Raven Johnson will check out for South Carolina. Two points, 6 rebounds, 14 assists for Johnson. That's almost tipped in by Watkins. Cardoso out to Ja. South Carolina will go to work again, and Ja wastes little time attacking the basket. She's got 7. Three-pointer on the way is too strong. Robinson. Back to Whitehorn. Shot clock down to 5. Knocked away, stolen by Watkins into the hands of Ja. Fagan tries to reach for it, but she won't get there, and it's a turnover for the Gamecocks. Camila Cardoso will check out of the game as Sakima Walker comes on. Cardoso double-double, 15 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists. She may be happiest with the 4 assists looking back on tonight. Harris. Oh, good dish inside. Well done by Harris back into the game. It'll be South Carolina basketball with 90 seconds to go in the half.
Clemson now extending into a 1-2-2 press.
Ja tries the 3. That's Fagan skying for the rebound. And she'll earn a trip to the free throw line. So a couple of free throws coming up for Sanaya Fagan as Robinson will check out. Gives me a chance to tell you about SEC football Saturday. First on ESPN Plus and SEC Network Plus. 3 games at noon. Abilene Christian and Texas A&M, Southern Miss and Mississippi State, Chattanooga and Christie's beloved Crimson Tide. And then on the SEC Network starting at noon, UL Monroe and 13th ranked Ole Miss. Then New Mexico State takes on Auburn. And then Kentucky, South Carolina, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. You catch it all here on the SEC Network and also on the ESPN app. South Carolina has outscored Clemson 22-12 here in this quarter. Harris accelerates to the basket. No, Fagan's got the rebound. Here's Full Wiley. Goes behind the back, looks away, takes it to the basket. 2 more!
Eric, for South Carolina right now, you got 2 freshmen, a first-year transfer, a junior, and a sophomore.
Strong take by Kluse to the basket, and 1. She's got 8 to lead Clemson in scoring. Chance to add to it with 45 seconds to go in the quarter.
I've said it, Maddie Kluse is so good off the bounce. Knew that the defender was cheating a little bit on the on-ball screen, takes it baseline. Beautiful finish at the rim.
Can't get the 3-point play, and the rebound for Walker. Full Wiley again showing the handle. Hands it off to Ja, and Full Wiley's going to get called for the illegal screen. That's her 5th. Well, it was a thrill ride, that's for sure, for the freshman from Columbia. She got a lot done in her 16 minutes. 18 points on 7 of 13 shooting. She knocked down 4 3-pointers. She had 9 rebounds, 3 on the offensive glass. She had 3 assists and a steal. I think Dawn Staley may remind her of the 5 fouls when all said and done. But what a dynamic player for South Carolina, and one that is a must-see in the SEC.
Correction, in the country.
All right, you've seen her in person. You watch plenty of tape. Give me your thoughts. Give me your scouting report. What do you think?
I'm not sure Dawn did her justice by saying she's a generational player. I say that with all due respect. She's a walking highlight. And a moment ago against the matchup zone, I was sitting there waiting for her to slice and dice through 5 players. That's her skill level. And as we saw tonight, I think the only person holding her back is herself. That's the only reason she's on the sideline right now is the 5 fouls.
Tucking inside for 2, Whitehorn. All her points coming in the second half. So through 3 games, she's got 47 points, which surpasses the first 3-game total in the careers of Boston, Wilson, and Mitchell. Believe the hype. It's real. So
staff at the hospital, and that's a shot of that. Although I promise you, we're having pecan pie on Thursday.
He makes it. He's so generous with his staff and the people that he works with. But what about with the family? I mean, do you have to sneak out a pie before Thanksgiving?
Let me just say, I will not go hungry on Thursday. And I have to say something, and maybe it was just our family. The sweet potato pie I don't get, because we always have sweet potato casserole. My mom makes an incredible sweet potato casserole. My nephew now is in line behind me, Caleb, in terms of probably the second family member who loves it the most.
Johnson back into the game as we start the 4th quarter here in Columbia. Bree Hall, shot clock winding down. Fagan, Johnson, back to Fagan. She'll launch a 3 with the shot clock at 2. And a foul's going to be called on Walker.
And Eric, we're seeing Sanaya Fagan facing up, playing more of a traditional 3 role. Well, that's because there's not a lot of guard depth this season for South Carolina. Fagan trying to get some minutes. So the 3-point shot there, and another reason that South Carolina can go really big.
South Carolina gets there defensively to swarm it, batted out of bounds, and it will be Gamecocks basketball. And we mentioned South Carolina down one of their players, one of their guards, Tessa Johnson, the freshman from Minnesota. We told you about it earlier. Lower leg injury during shoot-around this afternoon. So you can see there's a boot down there that she's been sporting since this afternoon, so we wish the best for her. We don't have any update outside of day-to-day, and we'll see what happens, but that's one extra piece that they're down. Good shooter.
A really
good take by
nice
Watkins.
piece. A really nice piece. I think this young lady has such an upside because it's just great basketball IQ, and even Dawn lit up when she was talking about her in terms of just, because I said, what's the ceiling? And she said, it is so high.
Oh, beautiful finish by Maddie Kloos. Into double figures with 10. The good dish, another assist for South Carolina. The finish by Walker. "25 assists for South Carolina. So they've gone 30, 29, 25 in their first 3 games of the season when it comes to assists. Kloos is met by 2 defenders and is fouled. Previous trip, this was a pretty finish.
Maddie Kloos just battling here. Baseline drive, sees the rotation by Ashlyn Watkins. A little up and under. Uses the rim itself to help her get the shot off.
I told you about the junior from Sagamore Hills, Ohio, who played at Miami of Ohio last 2 seasons. Averaged 15 points a game last year and 8 rebounds. Rattles that one in. Amanda Butler says she can guard anyone on the floor. So she'll be an excellent two-way player in the ACC this season for Clemson. Leading the Tigers with 11. That inside, another assist for South Carolina, this time Johnson on the receiving end.
Well, that was a great read by Raven Johnson because she saw the middle matched up and the weak side forward was matched up. No one to guard her down low.
Watkins with the assist, and here comes Watkins with just one defender back, and she touched it last. Another turnover for South Carolina. That's 12. It's one area that has not been perfect, but when you're pushing tempo, when you go fast, and what did Dawn Staley say about Raven Johnson? She's go, 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 and then go quicker on top of that. You got to turn the ball over a few times.
Well, I had a chance to talk to Raven Johnson yesterday, and I said, Raven, from where I'm sitting, it looks like the tempo is up because your teammates are trying to run with you. She said, yeah, in June they weren't quite keeping up with me. Now they are, and they're getting ahead of me because they want the ball.
Johnson, Hall, good catch, and she'll go to the free throw line to shoot a couple. Well, by all accounts, it was not very pretty in the practice gym for South Carolina in June and July and as recently as August. And that's why we talked about earlier that Dawn Staley seemed surprised that the team played so well against Notre Dame in Paris and then against Maryland here and now certainly against Clemson. They've kept it going.
I've got to say, I wasn't surprised they won either of those two games. It's the manner in which they won both those games. We're talking about and again, it's preseason. There's a lot of hoopla about preseason rankings coming into the season, but the number 10 and number 14 teams. And it was the dominance.
Oh, Watkins got it to Johnson. I'll tell you what, South Carolina has 26 assists. They've had a couple of hoops roll in and out. They could be over 30 right now.
Well, every time I think, oh, we can start that highlight video for post-game, I'm like, nope, nope. Just keep adding to it for both teams.
Roush on the floor, and that's going to be a foul called on Freeman.
Eric, we've talked about the assists. We've talked about the three-point shooting. We've talked about the bigs. But right now, the one stat that continues to amaze me is bench points for South Carolina. Already 42 in this game.
Good find again by Raven Johnson, this time to Walker. 16 assists for Raven Johnson. And a timeout is called by Clemson with 6. Williams going for that 42 Tuesday against Kent State. Out of the Clemson timeout. Whitehorn over the outstretched arm of Walker. Second chance here for Elmore. Roush will launch a three. Here comes Raven Johnson. Johnson trying to add to her assist total. Hall will put it in for two more. The South Carolina record is 18 assists, set in 2003. Christina Siokin. Johnson up to 17 assists right now, so one off the South Carolina record. Whitehorn knew when it came off her hand it was off the mark. Now, the last time a player had double-digit assists for South Carolina, Destiny Henderson did it.
Ooh.
In January of 2021, she had 10 assists against Arkansas.
I just had a fan tap me on the shoulder. She's getting 20 tonight.
Here's Watkins. Watkins had some contact. They play on as Freeman went down. Kramer back the other way. Approaching 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter as Kramer brings it out. Carolina 3 away from reaching the 100 mark for the third time this season in as many games. Shot clock down to 2. Whitehorn's got to go, and she doesn't go in time. Shot clock violation. Turnover. A record that has stood for 20 years.
And she's still directing. Walker, let's go. Get down here and throw the ball into me.
That's a point guard. Ja back to Johnson. Johnson looks for the lob to Fagan. Couldn't finish it. Battling inside and a trip to the free throw line.
Sanaya Fagan, don't you know that was supposed to be assist number 18?
If I had to guess, I'd say that was the point of the huddle during that timeout.
I love the play call because most teams run that looking for the back door, and they just shot Fagan from the weak side for that lob.
So the junior goes to the free throw line.
You know, Eric, one thing we haven't talked about, though, is Dawn Staley's gone to her bench a lot just in terms of, we know point production, but minutes. Why? Because this program's always building for March. She's always getting minutes for teaching lessons, for playing experience to get these players ready for crunch time, which we know is the NCAA tournament.
And she had all 10 players get on the floor in the first half. Pow Pow played 19 minutes tonight. Chloe Kitts, a starter, played just 10. Rebound to Walker. Out to Ja. Ja will do it herself. Watkins fighting for the putback. And a foul's going to be called on Ja underneath.
You're seeing the explosiveness of Ja there in transition, but you talk about explosive. It is Watkins' ability to get off the floor for offensive rebounds. She was boxed out, and she was still able to get up, just couldn't finish.
Kramer is fouled attempting the three-pointer. So she'll go to the free throw line. Now, I know the fans here, those who are aware that Raven Johnson is closing in perhaps on a record here. One reason, too, that she is on the floor now is because Fulwiley fouled out in the third quarter. And we talked about Tessa Johnson being out with an injury here today. So that South Carolina bench down to 4 at the moment, and Pow Pow playing limited minutes. Kramer shoots 3.
Well, I think this is where, too, Dawn Staley wants Johnson to have this experience with maybe some less experienced players on the floor. Help her be a better leader. Help her be more of a communicator on the floor and keep this group connected.
You know, we wonder, too, who's going to emerge as the leader of this team when you go from a team that had Zia Cook, Bree Beal, Victoria Saxton, and, of course, Aaliyah Boston.
I wondered if you were going to mention her.
Oh, by the way, Aaliyah Boston, perhaps you're familiar with her work. But I think Raven Johnson just feels like she's got it, and she's playing the way that she wanted to when she first stepped on campus, but suffered a knee injury just a few minutes into her South Carolina career. It's 100 again for South Carolina. 3 games, they've hit the century mark all 3 times. First time in program history they've gone 3 in a row with 100. Out in the corner. Back out to Kramer. Less than 3.5 to go. Shot clock down to 6. Three-pointer on the way, won't drop. Johnson's got it. Johnson across half court. Tried to flip it over to Watkins and getting a little sloppy with 3 minutes to go. Kramer launches a 3. Watkins has the rebound.
Raven Johnson was still explaining to Watkins what she wanted her to do on that last transition trip.
Now we talked about the leadership piece again. Johnson, Pow Pow, even though it's her first year with the program, played at a high level for the University of Oregon, so she comes right in with a ton of playing experience and carries herself that way. And that's a piece that will kind of work itself out as the season goes along.
I think Pow Pow is such a great addition to this team, just because it gives a veteran guard, obviously. But I love why she came here. She goes, I wanted to get ready for the next level, and I knew my defense needed to be better. And I think she's a better defender. I think she looks as fit as I've seen her throughout her collegiate career. And we've seen, I think, the confidence that she instills in her teammates as well. And you're seeing my transfers to watch, and obviously Dana Pow is one of the top players on this list. A lot's been made about Haley Van Lith and Morrow going down to LSU, but Aaliyah Matharu right now, third leading scorer in the SEC, really making her mark down in Florida right now.
Ja at the free throw line with 2:31 to go here in the fourth quarter. Big first quarter for South Carolina. Outscored Clemson 31-6. Kept it going in the second quarter. They had a 28-0 run that carried over from the first quarter to the second quarter. They were up 48 at halftime. And they've put 100 on the board for the third straight game. Watkins, here she comes. Watkins with half a step, lays it in.
Bree Hall is like, why didn't you dunk it? She was so upset from the bench on the opposite side to her teammate.
Final 2 minutes here at Colonial Life Arena. Ott, 4 to shoot. Maya Valentine in amongst the trees getting the rebound, and that's going to be a foul called on Inyang of Clemson. Next up for Clemson, they'll host Longwood on Sunday. Then they take on Mississippi State the day after Thanksgiving in Houston at the Van Chancellor Classic. Their ACC opener is right around the corner, December 7th against Duke. So a reset, a couple of tough non-conference games before stepping into conference play. Another SEC opponent after that Mississippi State game when they head down to the Plains to take on Auburn.
And that's a rematch of last year's WNIT where Clemson was victorious. And, and I said to Amanda today, I said, thank you for playing this game. I said, and she goes, we need it. We know we're going to learn a lot, and we're excited for the rest of our season. We just want to get better here this evening.
Another player in the double figures now as Walker has 10. 6 in double figures for South Carolina tonight. Ja's got it. She's got Johnson on her right. Ja with the unselfish play, feeding it to Johnson. A little pressure in the backcourt from South Carolina, and Clemson will take a timeout. Name freshman Hannah Hidalgo has been very impressive. 26 points, 12 steals Sunday against NJIT. Another one of those talented freshmen that we'll have an eye on from coast to coast this season. It's an excellent freshman class, as we've talked about at length tonight with Full Wiley. Five on the shot clock. Three-pointer is good. Nia Valentine for 3. Perhaps one last chance for Johnson to tie the South Carolina assist record, although she's in no hurry right now. They'll work some clock. Johnson waits, dishes inside. Outside to Ja, no good. Watkins will handle the final points for South Carolina. They put up 100 and 114 in the first 2 games. They throw 109 on the board tonight. And South Carolina, impressive again. 109-40 is the final.
चल के बा बंदे के
रिकॉर्डिंग स्टूडियो सिमरा।